Thank you for listening to the Weeknight Mysteries podcast. My name is Eurus, and you are listening to us again, and I am with Rain.
It's so funny when you said, and you are, I was so ready to say, and I am Rain.
Yeah, how are you today?
Pretty okay. Very, extremely ready to talk about the case today. It's very interesting. And I would say let's just go for it. I have my cannoli here on the side and my tea.
Yeah, I have a coffee, a water, and a cannoli.
And we're set.
Yeah, very Italian. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about Tiffany Valiante's case. It's a girl from New Jersey. She had passed away, and her death is quite tragic. Her story has been presented on the Netflix show Unsolved Mysteries. I think it was like the third season premiere or something like that. I don't know, but you have seen that episode. I have seen that episode. Yeah. Before we talk about what happened to Tiffany and the things that we digged into, what do you remember from the Netflix?
I don't want to spoil too much this early in the pod, but I would just say it's extremely, I would say, creepy. The manner. Because I don't even want to say this too early, but there was footage of her going out of the house and then stuff happened. And I don't know, I just find it really creepy because the way she was dressed up, it felt like and it seemed like she wasn't intending to go out. You know what I mean? Just staying at home.
Yeah, if you remember, she apparently walked into the night without any shoes.
Yeah.
So it's kind of strange.
It's really strange.
Let's talk about the story. So, 18-year-old Tiffany Valiante, she lived in Mays Landing, New Jersey, with her parents, Stephen and Deanne, in a rural home on Manheim Avenue, not far from Atlantic City. You know Atlantic City. It's like the Las Vegas of East Coast. Tiffany excelled as a star athlete at her school. She earned varsity letters in multiple sports. She secured a full scholarship to Mercy College in New York for volleyball, which was a rare achievement for a freshman. So she was an elite volleyball player. Tiffany aspired to compete in the US Olympics eventually with the volleyball team, so she was probably really elite, like a top ranked volleyball player for women in America. And she also planned to major in criminal justice at Mercy College in New York. She also considered careers in the Air Force or law enforcement. Described by her mother as beautiful, bright, and energetic, Tiffany was admired by her family and known for her intelligence, friendliness, and diligent work ethic. So Tiffany was also a tall girl. She was 6'2". And what do you remember about her specifically? And yeah, don't worry about it. The phone.
I was trying to find the do not disturb button, but out of panic, I couldn't find it right now. But yeah, what do I remember about her?
Yeah.
Honestly, just how you described her. If I remember correctly, actually, what am I saying? From what I remember, yeah, she was tall and athletic, and that was my first impression of her. She
6'2".
Yeah, she seemed very sporty.
Yeah, definitely. I have a little bit of pictures from Mays Landing here on our file. So where the family was living in Manheim Avenue, this is not necessarily in Mays Landing. I'm not sure if you could see the map pictures. It looks like it's a little bit out of town.
It seemed rural, and I don't know, based on the map that based on the pictures that you're showing here, I'm amazed at how massive America is. Honestly, It just seems like there's like a little town here and there, like rural towns, and it kind of seems like where they're living is like somewhere closer to the airport than the Maze Landing.
Yeah, they're kind of living close to the Atlantic City International Airport, so in the back roads of that part of East Coast of America. On the night of July 12th, just 4 weeks after graduating high school, by the way, this is happening in 2015, Tiffany's partially clothed, barefoot body was found on the Atlantic City rail line, about 4 miles from her home. She had been struck by a New Jersey transit train. Within hours, authorities ruled it as I'm gonna say it,
Self-harm.
self-harm. Okay, I didn't say it. But her mother, Deanne, strongly disputes this claim and believes that something else happened. Earlier on that same day, Tiffany had attended a family graduation party. She enjoyed herself allegedly, and she made plans for college. That evening, she was confronted by a friend who accused her of using her debit card. Tiffany initially denied it, but later admitted to spending $86 by using a friend's debit card. After a brief argument with her mother, Deanne, she walked off her house premises at around 9:28 p.m., just 1 minute after she had been left alone. As her mother, Deanne, I believe she said that she's gonna have to tell her father, Stephen, so she went into the house to tell Stephen, and I think they came back just 1 minute later, but she had already been gone. Do you remember that whole altercation? And in general, what do you make of it? Stealing $86.
It reminds me of Maura Murray, the case that we had before. She also had a bit of a situation with the credit cards, right?
Yeah, there was something about more. I think she would like ordered pizza.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't know. This is very interesting. Was it her graduation?
Yeah, it was her graduation. No, I think this wasn't her graduation. This was 4 weeks after graduating. This was
Oh, but the family was celebrating the fact that she graduated that day.
she did the family graduation party. I'm not sure if it was like her own like family's party, but it was like a family graduation party, but they had all already graduated like 4 weeks prior.
I wonder what she did with those $86. Was it ever indicated somewhere?
It was never explained. I'm just assuming that, like pizza money or something like that.
Yeah, it's very interesting. And do you think she was very upset about it, that she actually walked out? Because from the looks of it, it seemed like that's what happened.
Yeah, well, I do remember watching the Netflix thing, and I remember her mother saying that she's gonna have to tell her father now. And she went inside the house, and Tiffany was just basically outside the house. I think maybe like in the front yard or something.
Yeah.
And then when the parents came out, she was gone.
So she ran away.
I think she walked away. Remember?
Yeah, she did. But what I meant is that, do you think she was afraid of the consequences and
Yeah,
of her parents?
I think that could be the case.
Yeah, because from the looks of it, from the footage, it does look like she was wearing home clothes, with even the little headband on.
It looked like she wasn't planning on going anywhere until that altercation potentially made her walk. That's just like what I'm thinking.
From the looks of it,
yeah,
like
it
but
doesn't.
maybe in panic though, because no shoes. She didn't wear. Well,
Yeah.
she did wear shoes, right?
So I think we can agree that maybe that altercation was the main reason why she left her home.
Maybe she was super upset, or maybe the confrontation scared her.
Yeah. Her parents immediately began searching for her, despite the large number of people nearby and her tall height, because her mother emphasized on the TV show that she was 6'2" and she was tall, so she was surprised that nobody saw her leave. At around 11 p.m., Stephen, her father, so this is roughly, let's say, 1 hour later, he found Tiffany's phone on the ground, which was a major red flag. Do you remember where it was found? I feel like it was found like right outside their home, on like the grass.
I wonder if it was cracked though. Like the manner in which it fell. Like was it accidentally or do you think she like maybe smashed it? Did you see any pictures of the phone?
So I don't remember seeing any pictures of the phone. I don't. I have no idea if she dropped it or was she like, or did she actively like, or did she like
Threw it on the ground.
Yeah, or did she like actively threw it away? I don't
Yeah.
remember. Regardless, right?
That's very interesting.
Yeah. It was a red flag because she never left her phone. Like, she never left without it, you know what I mean? Apparently, she was constantly glued to that phone. A Deer camera confirmed Tiffany was walking down the driveway at 9:28 p.m. And it's interesting because her parents were captured on that same Deer camera. I think this is like the Deer camera that the family had. Her parents were captured just 1 minute later, and we're gonna take a look at these images and we're gonna talk a little bit about it, but let's talk a little bit more into this timeline, what's happening here. So this was the last time she was ever seen alive. This Deer camera picture, like footage, that captured her at 9:28 p.m. At midnight, the family learned from police that someone matching Tiffany's description had been hit by a train. Her uncle Michael identified the body and broke the news to her parents at 2:30 a.m. If you can recall, during the Netflix documentary, they were showing like a lot of text messages and a lot of panic as Tiffany was missing. You know, they were like showing all the text messages that were sent to Tiffany. Like, it seemed like there was a lot of people texting her like, where are you, what's happening? And to me, I'm just gonna say it, that it just felt excessive? Or do you think it's normal? Like, this person just walks away. I mean, they're 18, they're a girl. If they never did this before, maybe it is super dramatic.
Yeah.
Because I could see some other people living some other lifestyles, and they would leave at like 9:30, and the parent would be like, whatever.
But then again, they were living in somewhere rural, not the city. Because I could imagine myself walking away or walking around like 9 p.m. and no one really would bat an eye. Same as for you. Can you imagine like your parents, you just walked away after a fight at around like, I would say 9:30?
You know, I've never been in that type of a situation, so it's kind of hard for me to say what my parents would do. I feel like my parents might have a similar reaction.
You think so?
Like they'd be out looking for it. But I don't know, growing up, I was just never in that type of a situation to walk out. You know, if you're like, you know, have like a
an 18-year-old
friction with your parents, you just
Yeah,
don't
that's
talk,
true.
but you don't never walk out like that.
But then again, you need a breather. Maybe she just needed a breather.
Maybe.
But yeah, I do agree with you. It seemed a little excessive, but then again, thinking about it, they live in somewhere rural. It might be worrisome to walk alone at night in the woods.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming the parents panicked when they probably saw the phone on the ground.
Yeah, and then let's obviously address the elephant in the room. She is hit by a train, which is very brutal way to die. Let's just put it that way. I have a map here. I went on Google Earth. I did the map. So you see the map with like the yellow kind of like lines and stuff. So this is the route that the investigators believe that she took. So she seems like she walked on these roads, not rural roads necessarily, but you know, these like small town, like I don't know, like suburb roads, let's put it that way. And do you see that like 30 on that map, that white 30. It's like a sign. No, I don't think you could see it, right?
I can't see it. I might be blind.
No, it's like the first map.
Oh yeah,
With
like
the
the
yellow-
interstate.
Yeah,
something.
interstate. Yeah, sorry. So you see right below it, there's like this line, the yellow line, right below it. You know, so this portion of that route is already the train tracks.
Oh really?
So it was presumed by law enforcement that she walked, I would say, a huge chunk of her route to where her body was eventually found on the railroad tracks. But this is disputed.
Do you think there could have been a chance that she walked, like, I don't know, took a shortcut or something?
Yes, because this is disputed because we're gonna get into it, but after some time after the fact, you know, her family was looking for clues, and actually her mother, believe it or not, she stumbled upon Tiffany's shoes. And Tiffany's shoes were left in a location which does not match up with the law enforcement's assessment of Tiffany's route. Do you see that place where her shoes were found? So there's an alternative route that I marked with red lines. Do you see it?
Now it makes more sense.
It would, I guess, make more sense. But you know what? The one thing that doesn't make sense to me is if you would scroll down a little bit in our case file here, we have screenshots of the deer camera, right? So look at what Tiffany's wearing. Tiffany has shorts, a t-shirt, a headband, and she is barefoot. So
No, it seemed like she was wearing some sort of shoes over here from the looks of it. Try to zoom in and look really closely.
Oh my god, that's true.
Yeah, from the way I see it, she seems like she's wearing what I would wear when I'm just lounging around at home or about to sleep, and with the tiny headband and a messy bun. Didn't feel like she was prepared to just go outside.
Okay, so look at her. That's very true. I mean, this CCTV footage, like, it's really hard to tell what she's wearing. But I guess you're right. I guess when I zoom into the picture, I guess I could see, like,
An outline of the shoes. Some sort.
Yeah.
Like where it started and where it ended.
Okay, so then maybe she didn't leave barefoot, she left with shoes. But then that would mean that sometime as she was walking towards where she eventually was hit by the train, she took off her shoes. And she took off her shoes around a mile away from the impact site. So it's not like she took off her shoes immediately. And she took off her shoes like right next to the road. It was kind of like on the side of the road. And then did she proceed to walk through the rough terrain without shoes for some reason? Like, do you have any explanation for that?
If I remember correctly, when her body was found, it was also, I would say, she also wasn't wearing a t-shirt, if I'm correct.
So her body was found without the t-shirt and the
The shorts or...
shorts, yeah.
Really?
We're gonna get into it in a bit, but yeah.
Now I'm thinking maybe it was intentional from her end
To take off her clothes
to take off everything and, you know.
and just walk into it.
Yep.
But why? I've never heard anyone taking off their clothes before, they do, like, let's say, self-harm.
I have no idea.
I never heard about people taking off their clothes before they do self-harm.
Yeah, that's true. I couldn't piece it together.
Because we're just trying to investigate or like dig into it. Anyways, let's move forward because I feel like I'm putting you on the spot with a bunch of hard questions.
Yeah, definitely.
Like if you had the answers, I think we would solve the case. Anyways, let's proceed. Tiffany Valiante's death left her family devastated. Her father, Stephen, said it felt like he had lost part of his life and that he misses everything about her daughter. Her uncle, Robert, recalled the entire family holding each other and crying, calling it the most horrible thing imaginable. Her mother, Diane, was in shock, and she couldn't understand how Tiffany could have been hit by a train. It made no sense to her. By the next morning, local news reports claimed that Tiffany had died by self-harm, stating that she stood on the tracks and she didn't move as the train approached. Diane was heartbroken and confused by this conclusion. She insisted that her daughter Tiffany was happy and she was not intending to do any harm to herself, and that she was actively making future plans. She wanted to attend college, she wanted to play softball, she wanted to go to Six Flags and visit great adventure parks, and she was even getting a kitten for Diane's birthday, so I think she was intending to buy a kitten for her mom. Tiffany's cousin, Robert, also said she showed no signs of stress at the party that night, and she seemed prepared and excited for her future. Despite the New Jersey Transit Police, which were the leading investigators in this case, and medical examiners ruling Tiffany's death as suicide within 24 hours, family and friends strongly disagree. They now believe she did not take her own life, and they reject the idea that she would have walked barefoot for miles, or like a mile and a half, through dark rocky woods to throw herself in front of a train.
Well, she was athletic, so she could have easily made that walk, I'm assuming.
She could, but I guess why would she take off her shoes?
Very good question.
Paul D'Amato was another character. Remember Paul D'Amato from the Netflix, the guy who was working with the family, the lawyer?
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
What do you remember about him? What was he talking about on the show?
Why are you asking such hard questions?
I don't know.
He was talking about a lot of things.
Yeah, but what
I couldn't point out right now.
You couldn't. Well, Paul D'Amato. Okay, man, I'm sorry.
Okay.
He was a seasoned trial lawyer. Okay, and he decided to represent Valiante family. Initially, he, as I remember on the show, he said that he was gonna look at the file and he's gonna unfortunately break the rules to the family that, oh, it was self-harm. But once he opened the file, that's what he said on Netflix. He said that he was shocked.
Oh, now I remember.
And that he thinks
Not.
there's reasonable, let's say, evidence that point him towards the foul play. You remember that?
Yes.
So he subpoenaed the records from police, and the evidence raised troubling questions instead. Mr. D'Amato learned that Tiffany was struck and killed by New Jersey Transit train number 4693 on the night of July 12th at 11:15 p.m., which was 90 minutes after she left her home. The train was traveling at 80 miles through a dark, remote area near mile marker 45. The train was operated by two engineers, senior engineer Wayne Daniels and a student engineer Marvin Olivares. In their initial written report, both of these men stated that Tiffany dove in front of the train. However, Wayne Daniels later changed his account under oath. He said that he was actually turned away and he didn't see anything. He only heard his colleague Marvin Olivares saying, "A girl jumped out in front of us." Now, Marvin Olivares, the student engineer, himself, he gave several conflicting versions of what happened. At one point, he said that he only saw her at the last second And he later claimed that he saw her crouched near the tracks before she stood up and jumped. In another version, he said that she darted out from the woods. Despite these contradictions, police stood by his statement.
I could see myself doing the same thing, honestly. Maybe it's a mixture of shock and horror, because it is terrifying. Like, in the middle of the night, you're just going about your day, your job, and then all of a sudden there was a naked girl who jumped on the train tracks. Like, how would you even think about it at that moment? The mixture of shock and horror probably muddled his memories, maybe.
Naked allegedly,
Allegedly, yeah.
because I don't think we ever had a full explanation where her clothing went. Because, as I understand, Tiffany's t-shirt or her shorts were never found.
But it wasn't on her when she was identified, right?
Some people are saying that during a train hit, those t-shirts could get, or pieces of clothing could get tangled in the train's parts
But
as they rip through her body.
yeah, but there was not a piece found, from what I'm assuming, or was it never investigated?
So it's never been found, that's true. And I think it was probably under investigated. It did seem to me that everyone jumped to the self-harm conclusion immediately.
Yeah, that's true.
So I would say it may have been under investigated.
Because I'm really sorry.
No, please go on.
Because the way I'm thinking about it, if, for example, you jump in front of a train and your clothes get tangled up, there should be a few pieces of clothing scattered, or maybe still tangled up in the wheel, in the tire of the train, or in the train tracks itself.
I mean, we're not experts, but I kind of agree with you, because to me it seems like
Conveniently, it's gone.
other pieces of her clothing were found, like her bra, her underwears. These things were found, and remember, her shoes were found like a far bit away. So it does seem that she did take off her shoes at some point, right? If you're going with the self-harm theory, so that would mean that I wouldn't put it past it that she would have taken over the rest of her clothes. But why? That's so weird. I've never heard about it, but maybe there's like some sort of explanation that we're missing here.
Maybe, yeah.
Retired medical examiner Louise Hausman reviewed the case and expressed serious concerns about the inconsistency. So this woman, she was also on Netflix. You remember there was this woman also kind of like talking about the case. She pointed out that the train's event recorder, which is the black box, showed that from the moment the horn sounded to the impact and emergency brake application, only 4.1 seconds had passed in total. So given the speed and the dark conditions of the environment and the time, this woman, Louise Hausman, she questioned whether the student engineer, Marvin Olivares, could have seen anything clearly at night at that time. She believes that this man, Marvin, may have been traumatized and he was not accurately recalling events, possibly mistaking what he actually saw as Tiffany's body being dismembered for her jumping. So basically, this woman is saying that due to stress and witnessing something horrific, Marvin, within 4 seconds, could have forgotten what exactly happened.
I could see that happening, definitely. I feel like I would be the same. It was too fast. Too fast, too soon, and then a bunch of people asking you what happened, and you just saw a human. Like, bits and pieces of human and blood all over.
I can definitely agree. That sounds quite reasonable to me. This woman also doubted the self-harm theory based on the location, Because she says that Tiffany would have had to walk barefoot for over 2 miles on rocky tracks through total darkness to reach that spot where she was found. Louise emphasized that self-harm by train is rare, and that Tiffany could have taken a far more accessible and immediate route towards, I think, the nearby highway if she had intended to end her life. She suspects that Tiffany may have already been dead when she was placed on the tracks. And she thinks that Marvin Oliveras, the student, should have been tested for drugs and alcohol, which never happened. Okay, I didn't remember that. So she thinks that this guy may have been on drugs.
I feel so bad for this student engineer.
Marvin Oliveras? Yeah.
Yeah. Because, come on, I can imagine myself being in his shoes. Like, I'm just going about my day. I went to work. I have to learn a bunch of different processes. Bam. Something horrific happened. I'm traumatized. I'm really stressed out. A bunch of people, police, family members talking to me. I can't exactly remember what happened because, understandably so. And then all of a sudden, oh, we need to test you for drugs. Like, what did I do? It was a normal day for me.
Yeah, that does feel like it was a heavy day for
Really
the
heavy.
both of them. Mm-hmm. Private investigator Jim Brennanstool, who has decades of law enforcement experience, he believes that authorities assumed self-harm from the start and they molded facts to fit this self-harm theory, that they on purpose tried to make it look like Tiffany wanted to end her life. Jim and Louise, they both were baffled by the isolated, dark, and difficult to reach location where Tiffany was struck. Louise felt something was off about the scene. Advocate Stephen Rosenfeld says that New Jersey Transit's police force is not trained to handle complex death investigations, and that they never treated the case as potentially criminal. According to him and lawyer D'Amato that was hired by the family, the scene wasn't even secured properly. There was no crime scene tape, people were walking freely throughout the area, and no meaningful collection of evidence took place. The death certificate issued just 5 days after the incident declared self-harm, something both men say was premature and unjustified. Lawyer D'Amato also enlisted the help of Dr. Donald Jason, a former medical examiner who believes authorities rushed to rule the case a suicide to avoid liability. Confirmed self-harm. I know I'm mentioning that word sometimes.
YouTube hates you right now.
Spare me, YouTube. Confirmed self-harm theory would spare the transit agency from possible penalties tied to negligence or poor safety protocols, and Dr. Donald Jason criticized the investigation as flawed and biased from the beginning. Even more concerning was that Mr. Rosenfeld points out that no full autopsy was done, no SA kit performed, and no internal organ analysis or DNA testing was conducted. Despite this, a toxicology report confirmed that Tiffany had no alcohol or drugs in her system at the time of her death. Dr. Donald Jason and Louise Hausman both argued that the manner of death should be reclassified as undetermined. Without definitive proof of self-harm, they say it is irresponsible and potentially dishonest to maintain that conclusion. And for Tiffany's family, the case is far from closed. They remain convinced that their daughter did not kill herself and are still seeking the full truth. Alright, so to me it feels like this guy, D'Amato, he brought out a bunch of different people to kind of like agree with him. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like everyone seems to agree with him. He didn't bring out a single person who would like
Who would challenge his
challenge
opinion?
or the families. Like, I'm not, saying anything. I'm
I
just
mean,
saying,
we're open. Maybe it actually happened that way.
yeah, I'm just saying the Mato had a bunch of people, apparently seasoned experts, all kind of like going in that same direction.
Very interesting.
So, investigation took place. Tiffany's body, unfortunately, was cremated, by the looks of it, prematurely shortly after her death. This prevented further forensic analysis. I think it was a decision made by the parents, of course.
Of course.
And the parents are the ones that are asking for more details, but at the same time, I can understand them wanting to cremate her body quickly because of the
A horror.
and they want a piece of her to remember her and to go and pray or something.
I think so, yeah.
So they probably I could see that happening.
Definitely. It felt like everything happened too fast and too quickly.
Yeah.
And yeah, I do agree with you that this case seems to be under investigated.
At least.
There should have been more than in this scenario. But then again, I would also understand the people who investigated because it's a train. Like, and there are tracks. Like, if you would hear or see an incoming train, realistically, you would just move away. But she was there.
So I guess
And there were no, like, any other clues if someone was with her. If you know what I mean.
that's true. So I guess the speculation is she was already dead. That's the speculation before the train even hit.
Like someone just threw her there.
Yeah. Let's get into it.
Yes, please.
At the scene, her shoes, her headband, shirt, and shorts were missing. She was only wearing a sports bra and underwear. Her shoes and headband were found weeks later under a tree a mile from her home, leading her family to believe they were deliberately placed there.
Wait. The shoes and the headband were found in the same spot.
They were found a little bit away.
Or I meant like
Oh, yes.
together.
Yes.
Okay.
And I have an image of the shoes here, how they were found. I mean, it just feels like a couple of shoes on the ground, white shoes. Do you see anything suspicious or anything else? I just see like a couple of shoes. Like
The manner in which the shoes were placed seemed not intentional, if you know what I mean. It seemed very, like,
they're not together. They're like spread out.
they are spread out, and in a way it feels like she just took her off there, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
It didn't seem like it was intentionally placed to be on like on different sides or placed in this manner. Just seemed like
Someone
it is
took
how,
them off and walked away.
Yeah, like you would take the same manner you would take your shoes off, basically.
Yeah. Wait, are you saying that I don't keep my shoes tidy?
Well, I think you do. I just had to look at your shoes.
Yeah. Investigators reportedly did not interview family or friends. They didn't conduct a psychological autopsy. There's a thing called a psychological autopsy.
What is that?
I feel like they would probably try to understand her psychological state leading up to the death, but they had not tried to understand it.
Oh, for some reason I thought they're gonna investigate the brain.
I don't think so. Or thorough review of Tiffany's background, which showed no signs of mental illness, drug use, or self-harm ideation. There was a breakup with Tiffany's girlfriend, which appeared amicable, and apparently Tiffany was already starting a new relationship with another girl. So Tiffany, I found this information, she came out as gay on that same year. to her family. I think that's worth mentioning. Isn't that kind of like a big dramatic revelation? I mean,
I guess I don't see it as a big dramatic revelation. The big dramatic revelation for me is that she recently broke up with her girlfriend before the accident.
yeah, that's true.
Is that connected?
But you know, like when someone comes out as gay, isn't that like a big thing? It is a big thing.
Not necessarily, no. I'm very confused right now. I don't think so.
No, you don't think so?
No.
I
It
feel
is
like
what it is.
no, of course it is what it is, but isn't it like, like a big deal for some people to come out as gay?
For the parents, you meant.
Yeah, like for the parents.
Potentially, yeah.
Like isn't it like a, like you know what I'm talking about? It's always like a
I'm
big
so
deal.
sorry. It just felt like so normal for us that I was very confused on what you're trying to say. But I do agree that for like maybe older generation or like some parents might think
Yeah.
it was a big deal.
I mean,
I don't know.
The thing that she was gay, I think it was mentioned briefly on the Netflix thing,
It was, yeah.
but they didn't really focus on it on the Netflix.
Yeah. So do you think what do you think was the reaction?
From the family? Mm-hmm. That's a good question. Well, we have no indication.
Of course not,
So
yeah.
it's kind of hard to say. Mm-hmm. Crime scene handling was poor and evidence was mismanaged. Tiffany's items were left exposed or stored improperly, making them contaminated or unusable for DNA testing. I don't know what's that all about. But this is the strange thing that was not, I think, mentioned on the Netflix, and it was really bizarre. An axe and a knife were found, but later lost, and the blood-stained towel with an unknown male's DNA that could not be tested due to contamination was also found near where Tiffany's body was found. The chain of custody was broken on several key items, so they found an axe and a knife and a blood-stained towel.
And they lost it.
And they lost it.
Conveniently.
And we're back from a break that no one even noticed because we just stopped the recording.
Yeah.
Okay, we needed the break. It was actually 45 minutes in. It didn't feel like... Okay, I felt like I'm getting tired from like describing the details, but then we looked at the time. It was 45 minutes in. We stopped at the axe.
That was conveniently lost.
Axe and the knife were found. Both of these items were apparently lost. What do you think? How often would you find an axe, a knife, and a bloody towel close to a train tracks? Now, like train tracks is probably like not the safest area in general.
Well, they're usually the shadiest area in the city, no?
I was thinking the same thing. What do you think?
I don't know. I'm also thinking that since it's rural, could there be a possibility that it was a hunter's equipment?
It wasn't that rural.
Really?
Yeah, it wasn't.
You wouldn't see a deer there or something?
No, it wasn't
or like a squirrel?
It wasn't that rural. Another interesting thing that the investigation focused on, well, the family's investigation focused on, was the lack of injuries on Tiffany's feet, which contradicts the theory that she was walking barefoot. Remember?
Unless she was walking on the metal of the tracks, those like smoother metal thingies.
The thing is, from the place where her shoes were found, her shoes were found like on the side of the road in the like wooded area a little bit. So for her to make herself to the place of impact, she would have to cross that wooded area at least for a little bit before she could even get to the train tracks.
Oh.
So I guess it was a little strange. Remember on the Netflix documentary they were showing the feet. And as far as I remember, the feet didn't necessarily look that fresh, like, you know what I mean? Like, but
Smooth, you meant.
yeah, so I really can't say was that suspicious or not. Tiffany's family believed that Tiffany was abducted by someone that she knew, possibly assaulted and either laid on or chased onto the tracks. And then the deer camera, remember that initial deer camera that we looked at? There is a photo of the deer camera, I think it's like the second still image where her parents are standing. On the very right, I don't know if you remember, but on Unsolved Mysteries on Netflix, they were showing like this little piece of light that was kind of coming from like the very, very right part. Yeah, but then I don't know if you could see, but I took some screenshots, and you see like there's this one screenshot of this like very, very long
Yep. Panoramic.
panoramic like CCTV still, and then the very right side of it, not on the left side, because there are some car like headlights on the on the left side, but on the very right side, apparently there was some indication that there's like a car potentially there. Honestly,
It looks
I don't.
like a flashlight or something. Maybe it was even Tiffany's phone. Remember, she dropped it.
Yeah, I don't really see it personally. Yeah, like I don't really see it personally.
Yeah, I don't see the car.
But I remember on the Netflix documentary, they somehow like showed it, and it was compelling what they were showing us, at least for me personally. And the family is saying that it could be that she was picked up shortly after she left, which would kind of explain why her parents, remember, they were already like chasing after her 1 minute after she was last seen on that deer camera. Because her parents were captured on the deer camera 1 minute later. So it is strange to me how they lost sight of Tiffany, who seemed to just be walking 1 minute later,
That's true.
right? Wouldn't that kind of like make sense that she may have
Unless
been...
she was kind of like sprinting. Or
Yeah,
fast walking.
fast walking somehow. Or maybe she immediately went into the
Woods or
into
something.
the woods or something.
Yeah.
That's like the only explanation that I would have at the moment. Yeah, so basically there was also a pool of blood at the scene that suggests that she may have been injured before being struck by the train. If you remember, on the show they were showing that one part of the train tracks where the impact was at, it was very like bloody there, but only one side of it. So the family believes that maybe she was already bleeding there as she was placed, unconscious on the train tracks, or potentially dead already.
I don't know what to think about this.
Yeah.
What do you think about it?
I think it's compelling. I think it's compelling to at least
Consider it.
consider it. I wouldn't just rule out that, it's just an impact. I've never seen a train impact with a human body, so I don't know what to expect. So for me, I think I would at least definitely consider it. Both family members and the investigators, like Louise Houseman and the lawyer D'Amato, they believe that the self-harm ruling was premature and that the key forensic and investigative steps were missing, pointing to potential foul play. And this is where we're gonna lead into an interesting development that happened afterwards. After Tiffany was found dead, her family set up a hotline for anonymous tips. They were trying to, find out what really happened to Tiffany. And in November of 2016, which was a year later or something like that, a convenience store manager called in. It's interesting that it happened in November. Let me quickly double check when exactly Tiffany was it. I know it was 2015 in July. So this was more than a year later, from what I'm understanding. it's kind of strange that it would take someone like that long to call in this report. But someone did call in, and it was a convenience store manager. He claimed that he had overheard 3 teenage co-workers discussing Tiffany's death and suggesting that it was homicide, not self-harm. Okay, now I think I understand why he could have called in a year later, because maybe that conversation happened like a year later.
Yeah.
So it's a manager of a convenience store. He overhears some teenage co-workers discussing the death, and apparently they're talking about how Tiffany was murdered. The manager said that the teenagers talked about rumors that Tiffany's friend, the one that Tiffany stole the credit card from, the $86, that friend had picked up Tiffany in a truck with 2 other people. They took her to the near train tracks, where she was stripped, humiliated, and held at gunpoint. Police interviewed these teenagers. They all denied saying that they ever talked about this in the convenience store or knowing anything about Tiffany's death. The police viewed the manager's account, the guy who called in, the anonymous tip, unreliable. They think that he had factual errors in his claims. However, the family's lawyer, D'Amato, said that the Atlantic County prosecutor found the manager credible at first, and there wasn't enough evidence to move the case forward or present it to a grand jury. So yeah, we have some teenagers who apparently would have more information on Tiffany's death, but it looks like police didn't really move on. Didn't push through with these claims. Remember, this was brought up in the Netflix documentary. What do you think about it? Did you found it compelling? I did find it interesting. I'm not gonna lie.
It's interesting, but then again, it's just gossips. I don't see any evidence that would support this.
There is no evidence that
Exactly.
we can find. Yeah.
Yeah, and the thing is, maybe the police interviewed those teenagers, and maybe they all had an alibi, and maybe that's why it was disregarded. I don't know.
I don't think maybe those teenagers were even involved, according to like the store manager. I think they might be teenagers that know more about the real story.
Oh, I see. Well, then I do agree that the police should have investigated it further, but then
They did interview them, remember? They even have like footage of like them being questioned.
oh, really?
Yeah.
I forgot about this part.
And I remember one of the guys saying that this is preposterous. I didn't do it.
Big word.
I probably messed it up.
No, no, it's you used it right in the right way, though.
Oh, no, I used it in the right way. I just don't know if I pronounced it correctly.
Yeah, you did. I think.
Okay, good. Now let's talk a little bit about another side of the story that was left out, largely, outside of the Netflix documentary. In 2018, the New Jersey Transit Police and medical examiner reviewed Tiffany's case, and they reaffirmed their ruling that it was self-harm. They reinvestigated 3 years later. They didn't change their verdict. Some evidence supported this, including a bloodhound scent trail that traced Tiffany's path from her home to the train tracks. So there was a bloodhound that actually traced her scent to where she was found. This was not mentioned on the Netflix, and I think this is a very, very important piece of information for us here. And the family disputed the reliability due to recent rainfall, because apparently it had rained recently, and they thought that maybe the bloodhound could have got it confused.
It's a bloodhound, though.
After rain, apparently they could get less reliable. But now this is what was not talked about as much. That Tiffany had a troubled relationship with her mother, Deanne, in the year before her death. There were multiple visits from Child Protection Services after reports that Tiffany showed up to her high school with bruises that could not be linked to her athletic activity. It's not the type of bruising that you would get from volleyball or softball. And Deanne, her mother, at some point admitted to punching Tiffany
What?
during an argument.
Whoa.
Counseling was recommended, and although Tiffany denied being, she denied thinking about self-harm, she had later struggled with grief after her grandfather had died. At some point, she skipped school, used marijuana, and even stole money from her mother. So not just that friend. In early 2015, and let's remember Tiffany was found dead in the summer of 2015, Tiffany came out as gay. While her parents claimed to support her, some classmates believed that she struggled with her identity. Friends gave mixed accounts. Some said that she seemed happy, while others noted signs of depression, loneliness, and even self-harm. One friend claimed that Tiffany texted someone on the night of her death. And in the text, Tiffany said, "Just answer yes or no. Should I do it?" So I didn't find any other sources supporting this. But if this is real, then this text message is kind of very important.
Yeah.
Despite these claims, Tiffany's parents strongly dispute the idea that this was a self-harm incident. The family wants the cause of death to be changed from self-harm to undetermined and believes that Tiffany was in fact kidnapped, assaulted, and murdered. They filed lawsuits against unnamed individuals. I think these could be maybe the friend, or maybe the three co-workers, the teenagers who, were allegedly talking about Tiffany's death.
Mm-hmm.
The family is offering $40,000 for information. Yeah, so that's basically all we have here. Well, we have some more stuff. We're going to get into it in a little bit, but...
I have no words. You just dropped the bomb.
You mean the personal struggles?
The relationship with the parents. That's crazy.
Which is the most shocking detail for you?
The shocking detail is the counseling and the fact that the mom...
For me, the punch is
the punch. The punches and the bruises.
The punch and the bruises. So if there was counseling suggested because Tiffany showed up with bruises, I wonder what was the family dynamic there, because I can't imagine a kid at 18 showing up with bruises from a domestic incident at the house involving the mother.
I did have an impression when we were watching the Netflix documentary. I had my first impression of the mom was she seemed kind of strict.
High strong.
Yeah, that's the word I was looking for. Seems like she had very opinionated, you know what I mean? But I was like, maybe that's just what it is, and maybe Tiffany being a teenager, maybe it's normal to have conflicts with your mom.
Yeah.
But the fact that they had to go through counseling and there were bruises, the punching, this is a different level. And of course, I would completely understand now if Tiffany was actually depressed or struggling, she would hide it. She would hide it so well because strict parents tend to have secretive children.
It's not the first time we hear this type of story.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Where there's kids having a secret life.
Yeah, because they're terrified of the parents for sure. And now, when you were asking, When you were telling me earlier that Tiffany coming out was some sort of a big deal, at first I was like, what? What do you mean? It's like normal, right? But now I understand because we don't know what the parents' reaction.
Yeah, we don't know. Maybe the parents were completely fine with it. I'm not even gonna, insist that I suspect anything.
I don't know. Now I'm suspecting something.
The punch and the bruises is.
Red flag, major.
I agree. Now, I tried to dig into this case, like, a little bit more. Tried to find out some more information. And the first thing that when I was like trying to dig a little bit, the first thing I was focusing on was the location of her body. Like, is it possible for another third party to drop her body there? So I was looking at the map, and I found the place exactly where her body was found. I have some screenshots here at the very end of our case file. You could also take a look real quick. I'm not sure if you're gonna find it, but basically it's like if you would move to the questions section of our case file, and the first screenshot below that, it's like at the very bottom of the case file. A little bit more up, where it's questions, but the very first screenshot below the question section. It's like kind of...
Oh, it's a map, yeah.
It's a map. And you see her location where it was found, so it's kind of interesting because the train tracks are going in between two roads. If you can see, I don't know if you could see it, but it's going in between two roads. So one is the road where her shoes were found, and another road is the W. White Horse Pike Road. I'm not sure if you could see that, but there is this like street.
Yeah, I can see it.
So that W. White Horse Pike Road, I looked on the Google Street View, and it looks way too busy for me personally to assume that someone would park a car and get the body out and then drag it through some what seems like private property towards the tracks. So I don't believe that if foul play happened, that it would happen there. So I do think that if the foul play did happen and her body was moved from it was placed on the tracks, I do think it would have happened somewhere close to the road where her shoes were found, which then kind of makes me think the only way I could see foul play here is that realistically, is that someone would have driven a car and they would have parked close to where the shoes were found, and maybe due to some struggle or something, or maybe it's that whole humiliation theory that the family is talking about. Maybe that's what's happening. She's being ordered to take off her clothes, her shoes, as they walk her through the bushes towards the train tracks. So I'm not gonna say that's completely out of the question. I do think the one thing that kind of makes it weird for me is that her body was found close to this overpass. There was one image, you could even find it on the Google Street View. It's like this kind of bridge thingy. I'm gonna even show you so you could find what I'm talking about. Like this thing.
Yeah, I see it.
You can see it. So if you could see it, this is actually an overpass that we're looking at, and in the very straight, if you could zoom in a little bit, you could see the train tracks, but it's very small, you have to zoom in.
Oh yeah, I could see it.
So this is the overpass, and the thing is, Tiffany's body made impact really close to this overpass where driving cars could potentially see what you're doing. So it's a strange place to dump a body. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah, because there might be people, eyes, and watching you.
Yeah, so this whole humiliation thing, and if she was abducted by her friends,
could be somewhere more secretive.
Could be more secretive. This is not I don't think it's completely impossible, but
It feels like a little bit more into the open.
I think it's quite open the way it looks to me.
On my end, I feel like the logistics, and I could be wrong here. Correct me if I'm wrong, and if my assumptions doesn't make sense. But for me, it kind of feels like the logistics don't quite add up because
Don't add up to the foul play.
yeah,
Okay,
definitely.
why?
Sorry, because basically earlier that night at like 9:30 p.m. Tiffany and her mother were in a little bit of a fight because of the credit card situation. And then she walked out, and by midnight she was struck by a train. So are you telling
By
me
11:30, I think.
by 11:30? So are you telling me in that time frame,
90-minute time frame.
yeah, someone was waiting for her in a specific location that she knew of, humiliated her.
Potentially right outside of her home. Because remember that CCTV.
So they were watching her or something, because we also have to remember her phone was on the ground. So there's no communication. If there is, we would have found the text already.
So I think the suggestion about the phone was that the abductors took it away from her, and the abductors threw it on the ground, short, and she was abducted close to her home. That was the speculation provided on the Netflix TV show.
I see. And then she was driven into
Driven
trail
to that
tracks.
place, humiliated, asked to take off her clothes,
Walked.
and then, yeah,
I
then
don't know. It feels a little too.
and then the
Much.
axe, the bloody towel, the knife. It just seems like a lot of hatred for $86, and it makes me think that who are these friends? And I tried to find the girl that from whom the money was stolen from, and I couldn't find her. She is not mentioned online. I really tried.
Of course, like
I tried
protecting
Googling.
her identity.
I went on like forums, everything. I could not find this girl's name, so I don't know who she is personally. But it seems like a lot.
And for such a short period of time.
There should be an immense amount of hatred towards Tiffany. And to me, if this is foul play by those friends, it would seem like,
Don't you think it's so much things happen in such a short period of time?
yeah, it's kind of like, I would be leaning towards maybe the other explanation, not the foul play.
Same here.
So I did try to Google the axe from the story. Remember, there was apparently an axe found, and there was an image of this axe, and I have an image of the axe. Yeah, I know. I'm gonna ask you again to take a look at the.
No, I saw it.
You saw it. So I have no explanation about this axe. The only thing is that when you go to Google Images and you type in Tiffany Valiante axe, this is the one axe picture that is on Google Images, and it is coming from the Mato website, the lawyer, but then the Mato website is down, and when you click on the picture, you just get 404, like this page is unavailable. So there's no context for this picture. It's just a picture of an axe with it's seemingly some red honestly, it looks
Could be
more
blood,
like,
could be rust.
to me, I was gonna say my first guess would be that it's rust,
Yeah.
not necessarily blood. And I'm not really sure if this is that exact knife that was found at the crime scene or not, but that's what we got right now. And I have no context for it, and you probably can't share any light on it as well. Right?
Yeah.
So we have that. So other quite quick few things that were interesting for me from this story was that the one thing that really stood out to me from the very beginning was the fact that Tiffany left, I believe, 9:28 on the their camera. And I told you this before. I found it pretty strange that her parents were out trying to find her 1 minute later. And I found that that 1 minute turnaround is really fast. If you're gonna have a fight with someone, like your parents, I think it's normal to, I'm not saying you should do it, but I think it's kind of normal to like wait at least 10, 15, 20 minutes before you go looking for someone.
Give each other some space.
Some space, but this feels like it was immediate. Maybe it was just how the altercation went down. Maybe the aunt said, "Oh, I'm gonna bring out your father," and the father heard the news and he was angry and he immediately came out. And maybe that's why Tiffany didn't want to have that altercation, was super scared and walked away. I could see that happening. But I could also think that, and I'm just speculating here, is there a chance that maybe the family already suspects that if they do not get to Tiffany in time, that she might harm herself? Did you ever got that vibe? I mean, it's just complete speculation.
I agree with you.
Right? Like the immediate chase after. And then remember, there was immediately so many text messages just sent to Tiffany. Maybe she never did it, but there are so many text messages like, "Are you okay? Tiff, I love you more than anything. Please answer me." And then there was, "I love you." And I have an image. And dude, this last image, I'm asking you to take a look.
I've seen it.
With the text messages? Mm-hmm. Did you see one text message? Mm-hmm. The name of one text message sender? One text message was sent from a contact in Tiffany's phone named "Ruined her 16th birthday."
I ruined her 16th birthday.
Oh yeah, I ruined her 16th birthday.
Maybe that's just
friends or like funny. It could be just, we don't know the context.
Mm-hmm. Maybe she just changed the contact name.
Oh yeah, I do have like contact names that are not that
the real names
that people wouldn't understand.
Yeah,
like who I'm talking to right now. So I'm pretty sure you also have.
Definitely, I do.
Contact names where
like nicknames, basically.
Yeah, nicknames. So maybe that. But then I do see a lot of different people sending her messages.
So the news just broke out immediately.
And I don't know if this is a regular reaction for someone who's been...
No, this is 10:35, 10:38.
Yes.
This was even before.
No, this is 1 hour into her disappearance. Mm-hmm. So yeah. Don't you think there's a lot of people trying to get a hold of her for the amount of time that she has been missing for?
Are you saying that maybe
they're all suspecting they're all suspecting that maybe Tiffany is gonna do self-harm. But then again,
how did they know that she was missing? That means the parents already
parents started
calling.
Yeah, announcers started calling.
I wonder if it's it probably isn't a normal scenario in the house or in the household that Tiffany would just take a breather, walk around.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem so.
It doesn't seem so from the reaction.
Yeah.
And lastly, I will say that I feel like the Netflix documentary gave us a very one-sided...
Very, very much so.
...look into this case. And I think there's probably a different side to Tiffany Valante's case that could potentially paint a different picture.
What do you think happened, though, in your opinion?
So, for me, I find the abduction by the friends hard to believe at the moment because of the information that we have. It just would seem more likely that Tiffany, on her own accord, walked onto that train track. That would be my guess, but I'm not saying that's what happened. What about you?
I'm leaning towards the same. I just find it very convenient and very logically odd to have like some people waiting for her because it felt very dependent on the situation, if you know what I mean. Like Tiffany and her mom had a huge fight because of the credit card, and then she walked away, and then those people are already waiting for her. But what if Tiffany decided not to go, just to stay in her room?
Yeah.
And I do agree with you that I'm also leaning towards the, unfortunately, self-harm. I do not understand the stripping of the clothes and why her shirt and her shorts were never found. But the way I see it, there could be a possibility that as she was walking to the tracks, maybe she was getting warmer. She was getting sweatier. And as a sports person, it's normal for her to just maybe be active in her sports outfit or sports bra. And she kept on walking. That's how I see it. Probably the only explanation that I could think of right now that could have a scenario, a point.
I will say I'm not completely like certain of my conclusion.
Mm-hmm.
I will say I find there to be enough strange details in
Like
this
the
case.
axe and the knife.
Yeah, I do find that there's enough strange, weird details in this case to make me think that there could be a different explanation as well. I'm not gonna say what explanation because I don't know.
But you're just open for other possibilities for sure.
Yeah, because there's just, to me, it seems like there's enough strange things happening.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say that the most logical explanation looks like it was self-harm. But I'm not gonna say that's what happened. Okay.
And we don't have enough like evidence or information to support that.
No.
Like completely support that.
I would say, at least for me, I don't think we have.
Mm-hmm.
By the looks of it, we can't just say it.
Yeah.
Okay.
For sure.
Well, I do wonder what our audience members are gonna tell us about this one. Thank you guys for tuning into the podcast. We got some new people listening this week.
Thank you.
Really exciting to see more people. And yeah, leave your thoughts, and more stuff will be coming your way soon.
And we'll try to respond to all the comments, mails, emails, and everything.
I mean, I think we do so far. Pretty
We
well.
do so far? Okay,
Yeah.
that's good.
Okay, guys, thank you, and stay safe.
Thank you. See you.
Bye.
Bye.